Hello, guys. Welcome to another episode of the Arsaholics. As always, thank you for tuning in. Raj, Aaron, and Nero. How's it going, boys?
Okay, take a round of applause to welcome Nero back to the show. It's been
Welcome back.
Few weeks.
What's the special occasion?
No, I think I must be a bad luck charm because ever since I stopped coming, you also started winning. So
yeah, that's true.
No more games to go, so I can't
games
too much there.
His internet connection is going as well. No. Oh my goodness, that's what it is. Basically, Nero has moved into some random village in Essex somewhere, and there isn't proper internet signal.
Hey, I'm in Essex as well.
Yeah, you live in a better village.
Oh, okay, right. Fair. So Nero, just don't join any podcasts in August when the season starts again, then,
yeah. I don't want to jinx it.
Good stuff. Raj, I see you've got some new attire on.
Yeah, I am modelling today, Mize, the new away shirt. As you can see, the much discussed cannon facing a certain direction. Some people believe it should be facing the other way. One would say that this is one of Adidas's better kits this year. I think it's very nice, but all their kits are quite good, I think. Quite like the light yellow. Yeah, no complaints, really. I did think about a name to get on the back of the shirt, but then I realized no one quite deserves my love yet after this season. I just went exactly. So I just went with North Bank on the back as to match my home kit. But yeah, as I was saying to you guys as well, it also doesn't help that half the squad are like 15 years younger than me. So yeah, not this year.
Nice one, mate. Looks good. Well, we are recording a couple of days after our win against Brighton. I think a lot of people who follow us, who are watching this, probably would have seen on social media that we were actually able to go to the game on Sunday. We were lucky enough to get tickets. We were lucky enough for the ballot. So we were obviously at the game, not in our normal seats. We were, what stand were we? East stand, West stand?
East. Yeah.
Was it East? So different perspective, which we're going to get onto in terms of our view from the pitch, and obviously very different from watching on TV for the last year. But yeah, let's just have a chat about the day, really, and the experience, because not something we've experienced in a long time. How was it, boys? Did you enjoy it? Was it everything you thought it was going to be?
Yeah, the weather was a bit crap, wasn't it? Which was the only downer. But as far as, it felt like the start of a new season. When you go back to the ground after 3 or 4 months away in the summer, except for us, it was like a year and a half away. Surprised I even managed to remember where the bloody ground was. But no, it was good. Just, I know the stadium wasn't at full capacity, but yeah, I'd be surprised. It's surprising how loud, 10,000 fans can be. And just, it changes the whole dynamic of actually watching a football game when there's a crowd there, rather than the crazy kind of fake crowd or silence that you're used to. So yeah, I've missed it, and I was so glad to be back.
Yeah, totally. I think it was fun because we went to the Horatia pub, and the Horatia pub is a pub for those who don't know, it's a pub on Holloway Road. And it's one of the usual places that we drop into before every game, because it's kind of on the way from Highbury and Islington Station to the stadium. And it was quite interesting, wasn't it? Because when we usually go to the Horatia, it's packed. It's really busy before game day. It's heaving inside, it's heaving outside. You've got to, hustle a little bit to get yourself a drink. But yeah, it's fine. That's all the main pubs are like that. But it was such a contrasting difference, wasn't it, on Sunday, where it's only table service. It was very, very quiet, very civilized. There was something quite likable about that, not having to fight for a drink. But it was just nice being back. It was and you could tell the staff were just really happy to have people back as well, right? It must be a big relief for them.
Staff in the pub, staff in the ground, yeah.
Except for the guys who had to go at Aaron and every 5 minutes for walking around without his mask.
Oh yeah,
breaking
I
broke
a few mask rules, yeah.
Yeah.
But
it's funny you said.
I'll remember for next time.
Yeah, so it's funny you said you forgot where the stadium is, because I think we started walking from Highbury and Islington Station to Horatia. I think Mars was like, I think we've passed it. I don't remember.
Yeah.
Long. I'm like, nah, trust me, it's a long walk.
Yeah, I did. I got a bit confused, to be fair. So yeah, it has been a long time. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it was a good day, wasn't it, lads? reminded us how much we've missed being able to go. Like I said, we know how lucky we were to be able to go. We got a lot of that kind of feedback and response, not feedback, but a few comments that we got on social media were indicating the same. A lot of fans that would have loved to have been there probably weren't lucky in the ballot, or red members, silver members. So yeah, we know, like I said, how lucky we were to go. And no, it was an amazing day. And just going back into the ground as well, even though it wasn't full and it wasn't the same kind of queues to get in and hustle and bustle around the concourse trying to get a pre-match beer, and there wasn't any of that, but just that moment of walking out and seeing the pitch again, and seeing the ground. It was really, really nice. It was quite special, actually, just having not been able to do it for the last 13, 14 months, 15 months, whatever it is.
Yeah, I remember seeing on social media, I think either before or after the game, where people were speculating that how many people would give up their season ticket for next season because they've realized that they can do without it. But honestly, when you walk back into that ground, you realize how much you miss it and how much you miss going every week or every 2 weeks or whatever. And I wouldn't even think about giving up my season ticket. It's very low, it's just never going to happen. But for anyone who is thinking about giving up their season ticket, I just say, just go to one game and you will very, very quickly change your mind.
It helped, and it just gave perspective, I think, because we've had a tough season. It's been in many ways a rubbish season, hasn't it? And not just from a football perspective, but off the pitch. With all the owner stuff, with the Super League stuff, and with the COVID year, it's very easy, I think, to feel disenfranchised. But when we got into our seats, and the game started, it just reminded me what it's all about, what it really is all about. All the other stuff's just noise, right? Who we're going to sign, is a team playing well, who the owner is, all that kind of stuff. It's just noise. Like in reality, it's us being involved in a game every week. We're there to see the game and to be part of the event, and that's what it's all about. And it helped. I think not having that made all our problems for me feel a lot worse, and so it was just a great reminder of what it's all about.
Yeah,
I completely.
I remember a good point. Part of this is it's just very different to watching on TV, right? You guys probably might remember at the start of the game when players came out, we were standing, so we were attacking. Basically, we were on the left-hand side of the pitch of where we were attacking from, and then Kieran Tierney basically came up to us and basically applauded us for quite a while, for a good 30 seconds. Just came up right up to the touchline, looked towards in our direction, applauded us, basically saying welcome back and stuff like that, and then just basically got on with the job. And yeah, you don't see that on TV. You'll never get that experience on TV. Cameras probably won't even show it, but it's that connection that you have with the players, and even when you can just encourage a player, just saying go on, or do better, or you applaud them when they do a good tackle. That stuff, you can't do during closed doors football because it's almost like a different sport. But B, you can't do that if you're sat at home on TV. And I know there are loads of people around the world who, never get the chance to watch Arsenal live. And I'm not saying that we're better than those fans at all, but it's we're very lucky to be able to go. And some people often take that for granted, and I hope we never do.
Yeah. Even the game, it was really cold, right? It was raining, it was cold, but not for 1 minute I would have swapped that for sitting at home watching it on TV. That kind of experience is sort of unrivaled when you're actually in the stadium, and the atmosphere was pretty good, even though there's only 10,000 fans in there. And what made it better was they gave us a couple of Matchday books as well. So
yeah, they did.
Yeah, definitely packed me up.
Yeah. So, by the way, everyone, what Nero calls a Matchday book is what normal people call a program.
So if you find Nero on Twitter, you won't be able to find Nero on Twitter unless you search for what's your Twitter handle, Nero?
I think it might be MDB. I think.
MDB.
Matchday book.
Yeah, we refer to him as the MDB now. So yeah, it was also quite nice that because obviously we were interested in the Spurs score, the Leicester Spurs score, and okay, this probably would be the case anyway, even if the ground was full. But because everyone could hear everyone around us, we had like people around us, and when the goals were going in, we were almost just having conversations with these people, like 2 rows back, about Leicester have scored, and then obviously there's a number of goals towards the end of the game. It's quite dramatic what happened, and that was quite nice as well because we never really had that before. I've never really had that before when I've been to a game. So, yeah, it was a good experience overall, wasn't it?
Weren't you there when we finished above Tottenham? The Leicester season when Leicester won, and on the final day, weren't you at that game?
Yeah, I think we spoke about this last time. We were playing. It was Arteta's final game against Villa, maybe.
Was that game? Yeah, was that the game?
That was the game where Spurs were away at Newcastle, I think.
Okay, yeah.
And we were playing. I think it might be Villa or Burnley or something like that. And then everyone assumed Spurs would. I think that all they needed was a point or something, and then they got smashed 4-1 or something against Newcastle. And we finished second and they finished third.
Oh, I'll edit that bit out then afterwards. Talking rubbish. Should we have a chat about the game then? Actually, before we talk about the game, what were your thoughts on the? So we should probably explain. So normally the 4 of us we're in the North Bank, lower tier, 7 row. Well, me and Raj are 7 rows back. Aaron and you, I think you're 8th row back.
Yeah,
basically all around that kind of 7th row back, slightly to the left of the goal, but the goal's not blocking our view pretty much. Yesterday, because obviously we were given tickets in the ballot, awarded tickets in the ballot, we sat. Can't remember what stand you guys just said. Was it the East stand?
East, yeah.
So we were kind of, would you say, between the halfway line and the 18-yard line?
Yeah, about that.
So sideways onto the pitch. 4th, what row were we?
Row
4th row. So a bit closer to the action. It felt a lot closer though, even though there was only 3 rows. Is that because the gap between the pitch and the first row behind the goal is wider than it is on the sides of the pitch?
Yeah, I think you're probably right.
Yeah,
which would make sense because of the way that the seating would be. But yeah, we felt like it was much closer. What were your thoughts on just in terms of watching the game and perception of play and being able to see positions of players, that kind of thing? I found it a lot more difficult from where we sat.
Yeah, I think there's elements of it that firstly, I wouldn't trade it in for the view behind the goal personally. I did find it hard to understand where space was on the pitch, and certain important dimensions. I found it quite hard to really get an appreciation for that. But at the same time, when you are behind the goal, you also don't get certain other dimensions. And I thought what was quite interesting was actually noticing, I guess, there's a couple of things I think we discussed even the game where it looked like Tierney's positioning in relation to Emile Smith Rowe, when we were in and out of possession, and that dimension would have been hard to tell when you were kind of lower behind the goal. So yeah, there was sort of some positives to it, and it was fun being, I think, that little bit closer to the players, to be fair. But I still much prefer sitting behind the goal personally.
Where we normally sit. It's normally I'm slightly lower than you guys are, but when we're attacking first half to the other side, I can't really see what's going on fully.
Yeah, true.
I felt like yesterday I could see a bit more. It still wasn't 100%, but it was a bit more. I could see what was going on when we were attacking first half, and then still fully second half. So
I felt like I could see
sort of see it.
I felt like I could see less in the seats that we had yesterday because we were closer. You couldn't. That perception of how far a player was from, say, the box when they had the ball, you couldn't tell if they were 20 yards out or 30 yards out. It was very difficult to get that. Whereas at least from behind the goal, even though the other end of the pitch is much further away, obviously, the kind of vantage point that we're at, you can still kind of see the whole pitch, if that makes sense. Obviously quite a hard thing to explain, but
maybe because you're a bit higher up, because I think behind the goal, I think I'm 4th row. So it's still quite low down. So low down behind the goal versus low down in the middle. I think definitely middle was, you get to analyse the game a lot better and see a bit more what's going on. It's still quite tricky when they're attacking to the left though, first half.
Yeah. Well, maybe one day we'll be in club level or Diamond Club or something and see everything really clearly. So let's have a chat about the game then, boys, because yeah, obviously another win. Is that 5 on the bounce in the league? Was it 5?
Yeah.
It is, yeah.
Impressive. Nice way to end the season. Pepe delivering again. His numbers now this season have actually looking pretty good. I actually look pretty good in terms of his returns, goals, and assists. But yeah, like in terms of the game, I thought the first half was pretty poor, just in terms of us performance-wise. I didn't think we were great. A bit turgid and I found it a bit boring, to be quite honest. Yeah. Obviously, it livened up a bit in the second half with the goals. But yeah, how did you guys think the game went? How do you think we played?
I thought we played well enough to win the game. I thought defensively we were really solid. And I think the reason is because we had 2 central midfielders who were reasonable in Partey and Xhaka, rather than Partey plus whoever is left fit. And then obviously we had Tierney at left back, and the team just looked a lot more structured. And I'm sure we'll talk about Pepe and his goals in a bit, but I think we're not doing enough yet to still create really good quality chances consistently throughout the game. And there's certainly some work we have to do there, but I don't remember Brighton, even having a shot or getting close to our goal. So I thought the fact that we had Xhaka and Partey in that midfield just meant we were really solid defensively, and then it was just a case of time as to when one of our attackers would do something good.
Yeah, completely agree, mate. I thought it was interesting because Xhaka, I think, proved how important he's been in that position this season. And I did feel like we exerted a lot of control. It did. One of the takeaways for me, I think, overall though, was it did feel like, although on the positive, there seemed to be a lot more individual quality on the pitch than there perhaps has been in the past. It did look like that to me, but it still really did look, especially in the flesh, it did look like we were playing with a handbrake. And I know that's been something this season on TV, it seemed like as well. But I really felt it in the air. And sometimes you feel it a little bit more, I think, when you're there in person, because you see some of the players off the ball a bit more than you do, when you're watching it on TV. And there was just an energy about it, which felt like everyone was very cautious. Everyone was very careful. And especially in that first half, it was very calculated, no risks, no nothing. And that was perhaps something that was disappointing, but has been a feature of most of the season. And luckily, I think what we did today versus some of the other games is at least we did keep control for the whole game. Brighton never did challenge us, as you say, and we're having more quality moments these days, like we did on against Brighton. So yeah, I think positives, but definitely some things that it felt like we need to stamp out for next season.
Miles, you're on mute.
Sorry, guys. Yeah, I was just going to say, shall we talk about the goals then that came in the second half? Like I said, Pepe delivering again, as he has in the last few weeks, and 2 really, really good finishes. The first one, Nero and I actually missed, didn't we?
Oh, yeah.
I wouldn't have missed it for a beer, but I missed it for a hot chocolate.
You wait a whole season.
Yeah.
A whole season to come to a game.
Us. You abandoned us at the queue, mate. I thought you would stick by us.
I'm glad we did, to be honest. Yeah. Can you imagine if that was the only goal? And like Raj said, we waited 1.5 years to come back. And
he's talking like if we had stayed with him in the queue, it would have gone quicker.
Yeah. I didn't say that. I didn't just
not you, Nero.
Yeah. But you know what's quite funny? When we had the cheers.
Yeah. No, I would have been there without his mask. Could have scared a few more people off from ahead of us.
I was wearing my mask on the ground, just to clarify. Most of it, anyway.
When we got back to our seats, obviously we missed the goal, right? Because we're getting refreshments.
Two of you. The other two of us were more keen on the game, and we watched.
Just clarify, hot chocolates as well, not just refreshments.
They didn't have beers. They didn't have beers.
So the natural alternative is a hot chocolate.
It was freezing. It was so cold. Anyway, I'm not gonna justify it because you're right. It was a bit shit. But anyway, yeah, missed the goal. But when we got back to the seats, it's like, okay, missed the goal, fine. But how was it? And then Aaron was like, yeah, it's all right. It's a decent finish. Saw it back. It's a really good goal. Like, you gave him no credit at all. And this is the thing that not anything. This is not a dig at you, Aaron, but this is just a general kind of. I feel like if Saka had scored that goal, the reaction to how good it was would have been very different. I don't know if you agree with that.
No, I think this goes back to the seats thing, right?
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
Oh, really?
From where we
How
sat
about the replay? Because I didn't see a replay.
We were
They weren't showing it.
No, from where we sat, it was a side where we were sitting. They scored.
Yeah,
Wait,
but
how'd
you
you know? You didn't see it. Yes, stop blaming. Like,
Well, I watched it back, and like you don't realize that he basically, I think he like flicks it from his left onto his right and then hits it one time straight into the corner. It was so quick that I don't think anyone was expecting Pepe to hit it when he did either. So it just happened, and you're like, all right, he scored. And then I didn't really. I was probably busy celebrating that I didn't even see the replays on the screen.
you were too busy explaining to other people what the goal was like.
yeah, exactly. When they came back and missed it.
But I think to your point, like, so what looked a lot better on TV was the cross itself as well, because it looked like, for some reason, when from the angle we were sitting, it looked like it was just an accidental cross. It looked like he did not mean for that at all. Like, it looked like it was almost, he tried to hit it somewhere, it deflected and then sort of landed towards Pepe, and Pepe just kind of hit it and it kind of deflected in. It looked a messy goal, right, Aaron? And like, it didn't look smooth.
But no, fair play. It was both goals I thought were really, really good. Clearly Pepe has improved like immeasurably from the first half of the season, but also, he's obviously a very good finisher, and I don't think that's ever really been in doubt. No one's ever, like, you'd never accuse Pepe of being wasteful and missing loads of chances.
Yeah,
it's what's really encouraging is there are lots of concerns around Arteta before he took the job. There's still concerns about Arteta, but one of the things that had been well publicized, and I think we've discussed before, is that when he was at City, one of his key jobs was coaching the wingers and getting the best out of those wingers, and Sterling, Sane have credited a lot of their development to him. And so it always felt like Pepe had no excuse. Pepe's working with a coach who knows how to get a lot out of wide players. And what's super encouraging is just to see maybe the evolution of Pepe to a point where it feels like Arteta, you imagine, must have been getting quite frustrated and probably said to him, listen, do these things and you'll be an excellent player, and kind of carried on persisting. And now I think what's great is you're seeing Pepe a lot more effective in that final third, but actually doing so much more defensive work as well. Like he's doing everything. Like, I really wonder what it was that clicked and what he was told and
I remember when he got sent off, was it against Leeds?
Yes.
Yeah. Leeds away, I think, right? I was fuming with that guy because that was on the back of he'd just start to have a run in the team. I know he'd been in and out all season throughout the first bit, but and I remember thinking when he got sent off, like, that's it. Because I remember Arteta came out after full time, and you can see he was really annoyed with Pepe as well. I think he apologized for hanging him out to dry in a press conference, because I think he lost his cool with him. And I was like, I don't think this guy's going to play again for Arteta. But then he came back in, I think he's been in and out of the team slowly, played on the left, played on the right, I think in Europa League games, and he has slowly gotten better. And, he's a proper weird player, Pepe, because I reckon in this last two games where he scored, 3 or 4 really good goals, you could also make a highlights video making him look really rubbish as well, because he still does some really dumb things where he just, he misplays a pass, or he'll lose control of the ball, or he'll just run into a defender. But he's clearly got that quality to actually make something happen in a game where we didn't create a lot on Sunday. He still created 2 outstanding goals, pretty much, all by himself.
It's an interesting one that you pointed that out, Aaron, because I agree with you that that kind of frustrating side of him is still definitely there. And you do see that when you watch him closely. He was on outside, wasn't he, on the second half? And you could see another thing that I noticed was he was trying to play off the last man, and he was constantly waiting to make the run, hoping that Partey was going to find him, or Chambers was going to find him, and he was kept resetting and trying again, which I thought was nice to see as well. I remember Walcott doing that a lot when he used to play on that side, obviously a few years ago. But yeah, I guess that for me that comes down to just the fact that he's a player that's always trying to do something different. Like he's always trying to take a man on. There are occasions when he like almost just looks very clumsy with the ball, and he tries to do a skill and he just completely messes it up. But I don't know, maybe it's kind of like that risk versus reward thing with a player like that. When it comes off, if he's going to try and take a player on 10 times in a game, if it comes off 2-3 times and it opens up a chance for him and he gets a goal out of it, it's almost like it's worth doing that. But the consistency in terms of output is definitely coming. I think it's a bit probably frustrating for him that the season has ended at the time that it's ended for him, because he was just coming into this form where he was playing lots of games, lots of minutes, and like I said, delivering in terms of goals and assists and performances.
Yes, 20. Go on, Nero. You're breaking up a little bit.
Yeah, sorry. And I'll say, I think what I've sort of seen different in him is, I think before when I see him play at the start of the season, maybe it was a confidence thing, lack of play time, and lack of goals and assists. But just his body language and the sort of his name on the pitch, which I didn't really sort of like. His look defeated all the time. He didn't seem. He didn't make his runs and he wasn't tracking back as much. He just didn't. Sometimes he just didn't feel like he wanted to be there, which is why I'd really sort of got on his back as well. But yeah, no, definitely recently, you sort of seeing the more sort of confident side of Pepe, and you can sort of see the end product, which I think maybe he is like a sort of confidence-based player, sort of more so than others, and hopefully can just carry it on until sort of next season as well.
It's a numbers game, isn't it? Like I think, Mike, your risk and reward point. I mean, at the moment, he's done 20 goals and assists, 20 goals stroke assists this season. That's coming off a season where in the first half it wasn't that heavy. So if he's next season, if he's doing 25 goals and assists plus, you take that, wouldn't you? You take that, and so if he's going to be a risk reward player, if he's going to be a guy who does a few stupid things during a game in terms of losing possession or whatever, it doesn't really matter, because he's doing it because ultimately at one point one of those is going to pay off and he's going to score a goal. I think the issue has been for patches of his career at Arsenal so far, he's just had too many games where nothing's come off and he's not have been able to meaningfully contribute in any way during the game, positively anyway.
But that's where you expect the rest of the team to then step up in those situations. Like if Arsenal was to lose, then no one, including myself, wouldn't be getting on Pepe's back. He's used as a scapegoat when we weren't winning. But you're saying when the days he doesn't do well, you expect someone else, 2 or 3 of the other players, to step up and sort of carry him for those games which he can't contribute. But sort of based on that point, then would you say, again, hypothetically, sort of start of next season, would you, if you had to pick between, him, Smith Rowe, and Saka to play on the 2 wide positions, would you say he's a starter now, or would you still put him behind the pecking order of Saka and Smith Rowe, assuming that I think he's filled up by someone else?
I mean, look,
it comes down to, isn't it? Between
game I mean, obviously, there's no European football next season, right? Which I guess we'll come on to. But even though we always ask this question, right? Like who plays ahead of who and who's the first choice 11? But it's very rare that Arteta's going to get the opportunity to pick from a fully fit squad. It's a hard one to answer. I mean, for me, if you're saying everyone's fit, who does he pick? I think on form, Pepe gets into the team. I don't see why not. And obviously Saka, I think if you're well, I mean, Smith Rowe can play centrally, can't he? So you could potentially play all 3 of them, which means someone like Martinelli maybe doesn't play, but he's not playing anyway. So I'm not sure how much it changes things for Arteta. I think it's just he is an option that we have wide with a couple of other players. Saka, Willian at the moment, Martinelli, Aubameyang, arguably, and he will have. It's important to have those options for me. I think I don't know. I think Pepe's going to get his fair share of minutes again. I hope he gets more minutes than he did this season because he was in and out of the team. I just hope he gets a bit more of a consistent run because him and Saka are the ones that have probably over the course of the season. If you look at the numbers this season, they're the 2 that have probably delivered the most consistently.
Yeah, I agree. I think we always think, we're going to give ourselves a selection headache here. But none of these players are all ever fit at the same time. And if we do, like, we can just rotate. And then B, with some of these young players, like Smith Rowe, Saka particularly, you don't really want to be depending on them for 38 games a season plus cup games, because, who knows how their fitness levels will hold up. But then B, also their form is going to be up and down because they are young players. So actually, I think I look at, assuming we get a new number 10 in as well, and there's a whole conversation to be had about who that player is. You've got that player, you've got Smith Rowe, you've got Pepe, you've got Martinelli, you've got Saka. I think that's like a number of really good options for a season we're not in Europe.
Yeah, but because it's the thing, because we're not in Europe now, we're only playing, once a week. So that A, the number of injuries hypothetically shouldn't be as much as there are this season. And B, you'd want to keep that sort of consistency of, players playing all the time. If Saka doesn't play, for example, that's 2 weeks without football he'll have.
Is that really true?
Same with anyone. So
is that really true when you're talking about like your attacking positions? Like, we've obviously had this conversation about centre back pairings and maybe even the goalkeeper, for example, they're positions that you want to keep consistent, but surely it depends on opposition, form of that particular player, or the players that you're selecting from. They're probably the two key factors for me. Like, if you look at, say, City, I was going to say City, but even Chelsea, for example, they rotate their kind of front players quite a lot. Maybe not Werner, because he tends to play quite a bit, but they've got lots of different options.
They're playing, but you're saying Chelsea. Well, exactly, but the point is Chelsea are in Champions League, so they're rotating between Premiership and.
But even if you took their league games,
they can rest and rotate.
Even if you took their league games, I don't think they'd be playing the same attacking players every league game. I don't know for sure.
No, that's what I mean. Because they got Champions League, they're rotating between the two. That's my point. If they only had league once a week league games, you play your strong 11 every week, won't you?
Yeah. So ultimately, if your question is like, if you assume a world where we can play our best 11 like every week, and everyone, let's just assume that for a second, then at the moment, Pepe gets in that team every single time because over the last few months, he's our best attacking player. Like, there's no number that can argue for anyone else. So everyone else has to make way. And whether it is, and it's on the right, whether it's on the right or it's on the left, he gets in the team. So it's kind of just, maybe it ends up being Saka sits on the bench. Maybe it is Emile Smith Rowe. Maybe it is whoever that number 10 is. Like, but at the moment,
I think the point to be made is Pepe. There's a number of players in our team, in our squad, that get a lot of flack for different reasons. Pepe only gets flack because of his price tag. We've stated that. Well, I feel that, and I think a couple of you guys agree as well. Yeah. But if you look at his output, he's got 10 Premier League goals this season. I was just having a look to see who else he's ahead of and who he's in the same region. So Aubameyang got 10 this season. I mean, there's players like Rashford who got 11, Mane who got 11, Cavani, who's apparently had the best season ever, got 10. So the same as Pepe. He got the same as Raheem Sterling. He's got more than Firmino, Gabriel Jesus, Phil Foden, Lingard, Mahrez, Jota. Okay, he was injured for most of the season, but there's loads of Greenwood. Yeah, all the Chelsea guys. So it's
he's had the most contributions as well, goals and assists for Arsenal this season as well.
Yeah, so I just think he gets
so that's the most important.
He gets a really unfair deal, basically, and it's all because he costs 72 odd million quid, and that is the only reason why. And he's been in and out of the team this season, like I said, and he hasn't had much of a consistent run. And I think at the moment on form, if the season was carrying on and we were playing again next week, he absolutely would be in the team for me.
And his best years are ahead of him.
Yeah.
And like another thing to go back to Nero's point, right, is we've got we're not playing in Europe this season, but the idea behind the next season is going to be to get into European competition and be in it regularly. So, we can't, and I'm not saying or suggesting this, but we can't really build a squad for one season where we assume we're not in Europe. We need to build a squad for 20 plus players who will be playing in, 15 extra European games a season. So I think it gives us, we can talk about this later, but it gives us a bit of time to build a bigger squad. But it would be very foolish to think, that means we don't need 2 or 3 extra top players in some of these positions, because all it takes is one injury this season, and we're going to be relying on them all season. And then certainly next season, or season after next, we'll need them every week.
You're on mute, Mize.
So I was going to say, I agree with what you're saying, Aaron. And shall we move on to or talk about, league finish? Obviously, there was a drama at the end of the Spurs game, and we were obviously checking our phones and hearing the news from the other fans that are around us about the goals going in, and there was a bit of hope that we might finish above them up until the last few minutes. But to be honest, on reflection, I can't say it's obviously would have been really, really nice to finish above Spurs, but the consequence of that would have been going into the Conference League, and we kind of touched on it, right? No European football next season, but European football would have meant the Conference League for us. I'm kind of okay with that. When I say okay with that, I'm not okay with finishing below Spurs, obviously, but the fact that we haven't finished above them in the last few years, I'm not saying let's accept that we've not been as good as them, but I guess, you can kind of accept it for another season if it means that hopefully we're actually going to push for, targets top 4 next season, let's say. And obviously they've got their own problems that they're going to have to deal with over the course of the summer and into next season. I don't know. Do you guys feel the same, or would you have preferred to have got 7th and finished above them? But yeah, you're Conference League.
Yeah, it's disappointing not to finish above Spurs, but for the reasons that you mentioned, plus this was meant to be Spurs' season. Yeah, they had Mourinho at the start of the season was there to deliver instant success. This wasn't a transitional team. This was a now team, and this now team just pipped us. And I think that we all accepted that this season's gone worse than we wanted to. Don't get me wrong, but even if it had gone a bit better, we all still thought this was still a transition. Even if we had done better, it was still a transitional kind of period. And so I'm if I look at it in that lens, I'm not really as bothered. As you said, it'd be nice to finish above Spurs. I think that we will really have to take the benefit of not being in Europe next season. If you look over the last 10 years, Liverpool have dropped out of Europe. Chelsea have dropped out of Europe. They've really benefited from that season outside of Europe to almost just recalibrate, start again. I think when the dust is settled, and I think even the overwhelming feeling from us, after the game as we were talking, was that, we really didn't want to play in that European conference. So yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah, I think the only downside is. I finished here. The only downside really is I would have loved to have done a European away trip next season. And we always try and do a European away trip once a year. I know we've failed the last couple of years, but we always try it valiantly to look at flights, and they get very expensive very quickly. That part of that's the part I love about European football, dreaming of planning some obscure route, when we tried to go to Baku and figured out that it was almost difficult to get there. And the away trips that we have done, that would have been really fun, especially some of these random outposts in the world, going to Slovenia or Slovakia or Albania. That would have been they're like lifetime memories, which I think would have been really fun. But in the grand scheme of things, when you don't know what travel is going to look like for the rest of the year, if there's one season where you can give up on Europe, I think it's this season or next, of being in the conference.
If we have any listeners from any of those places, they're not going to appreciate you calling them outposts, mate.
Sorry. We do have any listeners in Albania.
White Hart Lane.
Next time we're in Albania, I will buy you a drink.
Yeah. Nero, you were going to say something, maybe?
Yeah, no, I think considering sort of at one point of the season, Spurs were top of the league, and we were as Sam Allardyce put it, relegation candidates for West Brom. And at that point, I thought we could end up being embarrassingly sort of lower than Spurs, 15, 20 points lower than Spurs. So I think the way that we sort of caught up to them, and they just pipped us to the post at the end by a couple of points. I think it shows that if anything, we're more heading in the right direction than they are. So I don't feel too bad about it. Plus, they're in the Conference League, so if anything, I'm quite happy that they have to go through that shit there rather than us. And to be fair, so I've said from the beginning, like I think having a season away from Europe is a good thing. Just gives us a chance to just reset everything, just concentrate on the league. The issue with what Arteta was saying, because remember in his sort of post-match interviews, he always said, he's trying to get his message across the team. But the difficulty he had was they were playing games every 3 days. So it's hard for him to, because imagine playing every twice a week. You got a day rest in between, a day just preparing tactically, the mental side of things for the game. So he's probably not spending as much time as he would have liked to actually training the players and getting through his philosophy and his way of thinking. So having that space now and having one game a week and spending the whole week preparing for each game, I can only see that as a good thing for us in the league. So I think, especially in terms of Arteta, bandwagon in or out, like next season he's got no excuses now. I don't think no distraction of any tournaments. Just he's going to be judged on his league. Like it has to be judged on his league position alone next season. So if there's an opportunity for him, but at the same time it's his time to shine, sort of prove his dad is wrong.
Yeah. I mean, we're planning to do a full season review, a proper season review episode in the coming days. So I guess we can go into kind of what went right, what went wrong, mainly this season, and outlooks for next season and the summer as well in terms of transfer plans. So the other kind of news aside from Arsenal, or linked to Arsenal, I guess, the other news today was obviously the England squad was announced, or preliminary squad, 33 players at Southgate's announced. Obviously Saka was in that, which we expected him to be in that first squad. He may not make the cut, plus touch and go, really. I guess he's probably kind of one of these players that is maybe 50-50 in Southgate's mind. We were talking earlier, weren't we, about Joe Willock? Maybe did he kind of earn the right to be in this preliminary squad? Obviously he wasn't named, but I think we were saying, and I was saying, I think Raj, you agreed, he probably had quite surprised, to be honest, that he wasn't in the 33, considering what he did in the second half of the season for a struggling Newcastle team. When you look at what the impact Lingard had on West Ham, you touched on it, Raj, didn't you? That team were already doing pretty well. And he came in and kind of almost took them to another level, whereas Willock went into a pretty kind of dross Newcastle team, and to score that number of goals from central midfield is really, really impressive. But yeah, unfortunately didn't get a look in.
It's scoring 7 from 7 and all different types of goals. I think it's kind of, there wasn't really much narrative around it. There wasn't really much kind of almost, the media weren't kind of even suggesting it as a possibility. It might be because in the systems that England play, they seem to want to play two sitting central midfielders, right? And Willock isn't really a number 10, so he's not going to really play in front of them. So maybe it is a bit of a system thing, but at the same time, I would have thought, well, doesn't he offer something different? How many real box to box central midfielders do England have? So could he have just offered something different? Maybe. And as you said, I think for the same rationale as you put Jesse Lingard in, which is a form card. Jesse Lingard is there because he's been in good form, and he's broken his way in. For that reason, I mean, come on, someone who's just scored 7 in 7 from central midfield, surely should be.
I reckon it's purely just because of the fact that he hasn't really played for England before. So there's this whole bringing a new player in just for that, and based on a very, very short period of form, is probably Southgate just seems a bit of a risk-averse manager in that sense. So he's probably not going to do it. And I don't know how, he almost certainly wouldn't have made the cut anyway, right, of the 26. So, yeah, I'm not that surprised. And Lingard, I think you've got experience of playing for England there. And like I said, I don't even know if Lingard's going to make the cut. So I'm not surprised. And then with Saka, I think he he probably should be there. But again, I wouldn't be too upset from an Arsenal perspective if he doesn't go, because I think over the last 6 or 7 games, he's looked very tired and his form has certainly dropped. So I think we've like run this kid to the ground over the whole season, and he deserves a rest.
Completely agree. I completely. It's a case also, like, I think we discussed it before, but in the old, when the England squads was when the squads were meant to be smaller for this competition, I think were they 23 men squads before? Now the final squad has to be 26. There's less of a need to have your versatile players in now, right? You can have more specialists. So maybe that works against him because he's probably the most versatile player in the squad, right? He's a guy who can genuinely play at a very good level in a number of positions, but maybe they don't need that. Mize, you kind of mentioned the other day, right? Like arguably you could say if you're playing an attacking left wing back if you're playing a back three with attacking left wing backs, arguably he's second choice. But aside from that, is he really second choice in any other kind of scenario?
And I guess, like, I don't know how Southgate or an international manager thinks about this, but obviously with the World Cup now not 2 years away, but a year away, how much does the kind of the planning for that tournament start now as well? And how he kind of shapes the squad. And I would like to think Saka is a player that definitely makes the World Cup squad next season, barring kind of injuries and stuff. I'd be very surprised if he didn't. So, I don't know, that may come into his thinking, give some of these players the experience, even if they're not going to play that many minutes, give them the experience of the tournament now so that they're almost ready for the World Cup, which, okay, so it's a bigger tournament, isn't it, really? Obviously it's a bigger tournament. But I don't know if that comes into his thinking as well, maybe. I know what you said, Aaron, in that, you'd be happy from an Arsenal perspective, he doesn't go, and I completely agree. You can't disagree with that, right? Like, obviously, it would just be good for him to have the break and come back to us fresh. But at the same time, kind of like, he's obviously one of our, if not our best player, one of our best players, one of our top players, and kind of that like development that he's on now, going to a tournament, playing with, we've got some really, really talented players England have. So going and training with these guys for the next few weeks and almost getting a taste of something that he's not had before, it might stand him in good stead for when he comes back to us. It might also be quite detrimental in the sense that you might get people like Foden and Rashford saying in his ear, come and join us at our clubs.
420 million. Yeah. Do you think, but is it, I sort of understand, so I sort of get both points. It's good to obviously get the international and tournament experience, but then there's no point him being part of a 26-man squad if he's going to go there and, what Martin Keown did, right? 2 tournaments in a row, just sat on the bench, didn't get a minute. So
the dig on Martin Keown.
Love it. I love that commitment.
He's not even commented on the game. if you take the Martin Keown, I mean, there is right. There is a benefit. There surely is a benefit.
Yeah.
Would you not say so? Like if you were
getting back to the cost benefit of then coming back, say England get to the final, coming back, missing preseason training.
Yeah, that's obviously that I agree with. But you're saying as a like Martin Keown. Martin Keown would have. Well, I don't know, but we're talking about a player who's how old is Saka? 19, is he?
19.
I don't know. I think that's pretty invaluable, to be honest. You never know what's going to happen in the future. And
I remember that was the Theo argument, wasn't it? When Theo went, when he was obviously getting different circumstances, but everyone said, "Oh yeah, Theo going is going to be good for his England career because he's going to get ahead on him." But it's again, like, if you're going to go there and you're going to get game time and playing this sort of big matches, then it will definitely help. Then playing in the big matches for your club. But if you're going to sit there on the bench, this bench warm for the whole tournament, I'd rather him come back. I'd rather him, like Aaron was saying, to be fresh, because he's had a tough second half of the season anyway in terms of game time. So I think most of our players.
I agree with you. Like I said, as from an Arsenal perspective, I guess I was looking at this from a Saka development, what he would like to do. He would obviously want to go. He'd be quite disappointed to not get picked now that he's in the preliminary squad. And I think, from a development perspective, it can only help. But there's pros and cons to both, right?
Not being left back. Who's in the left back? Chilwell.
It'll be Chilwell or Shaw, won't it?
It'll be Luke Shaw, I would have thought.
Yeah.
Chilwell, you don't think Shaw if it's a 4, I think, and Chilwell if it's a 5.
So you don't think Saka's good enough to
No, wait,
No,
I'm
I've-
sure.
challenge for that spot?
I think we
no.
all think he's good enough, right? But it's just what Southgate's preference is.
yeah.
Which,
Yeah.
I don't think.
Exactly.
Let's see what happens.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, only other thing I was going to mention, guys, was obviously, look, we come to the end of the season. We started this podcast February, I think it was. It's been a few months now. I just wanted to say, look, big thank you to people who've taken the time to watch us, listen to us this season. And especially, we appreciate that. And we also really, really appreciate people who've interacted with us. People are commenting on the video, interacting with us on Instagram, Twitter, etc., Facebook, all social media platforms. And, we really appreciate it. I really enjoy, I'm sure you guys do, just speaking to other Arsenal fans. I've met quite a few fans through social media, obviously not face to face yet, but have started interacting and speaking to a lot of these guys, a lot of people. And no, it's been really good fun. So yeah, I just want to say thank you for the support.
Yeah, echoed. Absolutely. Be really nice to meet people when next season, hopefully when things open up. It'd be great. I think we always go for a couple of drinks for every game. And I'm really, I'd really love to connect with other Arsenal fans who, whether they're people who are interacting with us on social media or whatever, just meeting for a drink beforehand. I mean, we love to do it, right? And love to talk about football and just just really appreciate all the interaction, I think.
Yeah, I think we're constantly amazed. Yeah, we are. Yeah, we've got very small numbers, but they are very consistent and growing. And we are super humbled that people would actually listen to us talk. So yeah, we're learning a lot, but we're also really enjoying it. So hopefully we can carry on and keep getting better.
We've got some plans for kind of the off season, which we're in discussions with what we're going to be talking about. We would love to hear really, people that are watching and listening, feel free to tell us, what would you like us to talk about, Arsenal related or otherwise. Well, it's going to be Arsenal related, but like I said, we've got some ideas, things that we want to talk about, things that we want to discuss, episodes that we're going to do over the next few weeks until the new season starts. But yeah, we would love to hear any suggestions and ideas. Boys, should we call it there?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Brilliant. All right, boys. We'll end of the season and we'll do our full review very, very soon. But until then, guys, thank you as always for tuning in and we'll see you next time.
See ya. Bye.
See you
Thank
guys.
you.
Bye.
Bye.